That the Lord is good, ice cream is sweet, but Jesus is far sweeter. Thank you for joining me and my buddy Scott Lewis here as we seek to entertain and amuse ourselves by embarrassing ourselves for the entire universe on social media. Hopefully not, but we're here, and we're not entirely sure why. So,
just seemed like a thing to do, right?
Why not? Why not? No, I think, we finished the book. We did some Christmas stuff, and we've been just trying to figure out, well, what do we do next? It's a new year, and I don't know, just kind of not
I'm still trying
landing on anything.
I'm still
exactly.
trying to sit up straight, or stand up straight.
Stand up straight with your shoulders back.
I'm trying. So if you see me fidgeting, it's because I'm trying to stand up straight with your shoulders back, so
like a lobster
to face the world, right?
Lobsters.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, you could spend forever going through all of those rules, and maybe we revisit it at some point. But I don't know if people want to keep going over that. So.
I don't think I have my Washington's rules for life.
Washington's rules for life?
Yeah, George Washington wrote a book.
He had a little.
In mine, the version I had was a little red book.
Yeah, it's a tiny thing.
It had some things. When in the company of guests, never put your hands in your pockets. Things like that.
Etiquette type,
yeah. Yeah. I had bought one when I was in D.C. I had never heard of it, and I saw it at one of the shops, at one of the museums, and so I bought it, and then I might have lost it at work after we got hit by the tornado. We couldn't go in and get our stuff out, but anyway.
So they just left it, and
yeah, you couldn't go back in. So whatever you had in there was gone. I've lost a few little pictures, but
they didn't even bulldoze it and just let you go through the rubble or anything. I mean,
no, because it was areas were contaminated by asbestos. Is why they wouldn't let us back in.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there were some good notes I had there for work, but
I thought this was supposed to be funny.
Sorry.
You're being a downer.
I'm bringing it Debbie Downer.
It's okay. That just means you're just like me. Ripping into people, apparently, on a regular basis. I actually have that book, I think.
Do you? It's cool.
Because we lived in Fredericksburg for a year when I was doing my internship, and there was a church there, and I was working there as like a student pastor, kind of pastor in training. And Fredericksburg has a lot of George Washington stuff. There, I think it's his childhood home is right there, Ferry Farm.
Okay.
I think. So not his birthplace, not what's the big Mount Vernon? Not that, but a place where he lived for a time as a child. And there's all kinds of Washington-related stuff. There's a hotel or a little motel or an inn or something that he stayed in, supposedly. Mary Washington University is there. And so I think actually that inn, or maybe it was her home, Mary Washington lived there or something.
Okay.
So there's a little store in that place that you can go to. I don't remember. This is at least 15 years ago, I think. Yeah. And there was a book, and I'm pretty sure I have it somewhere. I can't remember.
Yeah, there was I don't know. There was quite a few rules in it. 40-something, 60-something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was quite a list.
Posture was definitely in there, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Not even leaning back in the chair. You're supposed to sit on the front of the chair, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah. It's part of that English upbringing, probably, for him.
Yeah, he's a general too,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But we don't know what we're going to talk about. So now we're talking about George Washington's rules for life. But I think we're also open arms as a congregation. We're going through transitions of a variety of kinds. I've been here coming up on 5 years. At least 2 years lost to COVID almost completely, seemingly, present, but not able to really figure out where we're going or what we're doing, and people just life keeping people kind of all over the place. And so we have a long range planning team, and we're trying to figure out, okay, so what are we here for? How are we incorporate all this stuff? And thinking about that. And one of the things we're doing is we're going through this book, the Open Arms book, which they changed the lighting in here, by the way. We had Clico Electric Company. They came out, and there's some company that they had give us all LEDs. Well, the LEDs changed the lighting in here pretty dramatically, so we look like ghosts on the screen here. And, if I had a full-time staff to run everything in here like Joe Rogan, who with his $300 million, he could pay full-time people forever and not do anything. But I think that's what he got for his podcast, right? When he sold it to Spotify. But they're going through this book, and you and I had a conversation. I don't remember what it was. I think it was somewhat politically related, and it was sort of like, well, everybody sucks. Like,
it's kind of the general outlook on things.
They all suck. Yeah. See, now you know why that just shines through, right? I'm just telling the truth all the time. People suck, man. They just do. And but kind of the gist of it being like, we actually should be worried about everybody. The left is very worried about Trump right now. In some ways, it's more of the whole, he's this Nazi dictator person that they've been painting him as since the beginning. And they're just seeing that. Another part of it is like, there's a lot of change going on, and it is pretty drastic, and people probably should be at least a little bit on edge about this. And then you have the left doing whatever they were doing that gave people so much need to go after Trump, like not to go after him, but like to say, hey, we want this guy. We don't want any more left-leaning people in office. We want to change this. So everybody sucks, and I think it's actually the system. I think. Political parties. You mentioned George Washington, right?
Right.
His farewell speech had a number of things in there. One of them was, hey, watch out for political parties and the divisiveness that they bring and all kinds of nonsense that it leads to. And I think we are seeing that. I think that's really what's going on, because it's so shocking to me how people can be so adamant about the wrongs of one group and completely, just be absolutely, completely unable to see the wrongs with their own preferred group, But in that conversation that we were having, we're like, well, what do we do? And it was like, oh, I guess Jesus. Like, I guess we need more Jesus people. And I think we need more Jesus people on the left and the right. More people, because actually I forget where I read this or heard this, but actually the right is, as much as it is like this Christian nationalist supposedly wing, there's a surprising number of people that are actually very conservative and not very religious anymore.
Yeah, that's the case in general, I think. But yeah.
Well, exactly. So if the country is generally speaking less religious, then it's affecting all sides, right?
Right.
And the more we have that, I think the more we'll find people are much more willing. I'm not saying that Christians don't bend the rules and screw up. They are obviously capable of that. I've seen it all the time. But man, people that it certainly helps to have Jesus as a corrective force. Like Martin Luther King Jr., right? This was just his the day we remember Martin Luther King Jr. on Inauguration Day, same day this year, and he made the point basically that, well, I mean, he made a lot of points. Okay, so I'm not trying to encapsulate Martin Luther King Jr. But one of the things that was interesting about what he was doing was he didn't say that people should be less religious so that there would be less racism and hatred and unjust laws. He said we need to actually be more religious. We need to, not religious, I mean, I know that's a bad word in some circles, and rightfully so. I understand why people are sensitive to that word, but he didn't say be less Christian. He said to be more Christian. He didn't say read your Bible less and listen to your Bible less and tear it apart and it's a piece of garbage book. He said be more into Scripture. Read your Bible, and read it well, and don't skip over parts. And so that is what enabled him to lead a movement, empowering people to just sort of take it on the chin and let the whole world see it. That's basically what happened. And then the whole world kind of went, oh, this isn't a good look. This is bad. Okay, yeah, we all right, it's gone too far. We have to do something about this now. And we think the solution is always something else, that it's power. And right now the right is being accused of going after power. But if you think that they're the only ones that did that, you're delusional.
Yes.
Absolutely. So how do we help people find Jesus? Right. That's actually the second chapter in the book is the main thing. The first chapter is all that matters. And then the second chapter is the main thing. Like, what are we focusing on? Are Christians focused on all the political stuff? Which, I mean, I do think that as American Christians, we have a responsibility for the government, right? We are the voice, a government of, by, and for the people.
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, it's really hard to pull off in reality.
Because most of us don't want to pay attention.
It's ugly.
You want to get in, you just want to do your life and whatever. And then sometimes, like these recent years, it seems like people have had to actually stand up and resist.
Yeah.
Either side,
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
They see something happening and they stand up and resist. And I think that's what it's about. But that's, like you said, it's ugly sometimes. And it's like, who wants to, you got to crawl through the muck to do some of that stuff. And it's not fun.
I think the ugliness is more overt now. And I think that's really the only difference. I think it's always been ugly. We just have a rose-colored fantasy view of the past. And so I actually think it's a tough line for Christians because I don't think I don't want Christians involved in government or in anything involved in government and political office, the federal bureaucracy, which who knows if it'll exist, at the end of the 100 days or whatever. I mean, at this point.
But pretty much pulling the rug out of underneath of everything.
Yeah.
If there's a rug, it's coming up. Just don't be standing on it when it happens.
But like I said, that change makes people scared. And a lot of it is big change. And so we should be cautious and we should be not too celebratory or, I think there is good reason to be concerned, but I also think, the other side of it is this is what leads to breakthroughs.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you think about your own life, your own spiritual breakthroughs, do they happen when everything is fine? Or do they happen when you have the rug pulled out from under you?
Yeah. After maybe something bad happened.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to assign any kind of divine, authorization for anything. I'm just saying
Right.
that I think we've needed some sort of change, and this was the choice of the people for change. And just like with, I think if you can't find things you like or don't like about a particular party or candidate or whatever, then you're trapped in a partisan, I don't know what the right way to say it is,
Echo chamber.
echo chamber or whatever. And
Yeah.
and because the right has been so out of favor for so long, they were definitely, I mean, the left was, wow, like there are some things that were going on that a lot of people don't know if they didn't look on the other side. But now it's going to be the other way around. Now it's going to be because the right's in power.
Well, you see it in, basically the left was commanding societal norms and entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And even they had got into controlling technology. I mean, they were, and then now so quickly things have shifted.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's why we, have elections, and that's why this form of government, it's, although not perfect, is one of the better ones, because we have regularly appointed chances
Mm-hmm.
to make a change.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if change is always for the best, but maybe it'll be not for the best in some ways, but it may stir up ideas, like you're saying, better solutions to situations.
And I think because, most of the people we probably hang around with are very right-leaning. Conservative Christians believe the Bible to be the authoritative word of God and all that kind of stuff. We tend to, that's where we generally fall. And a lot of what we believe about government and politics has very little to do with what we actually think. Like when you look at people, you study people and why they are the way they are, there's so many factors that have very little to do with our own choice.
Mm-hmm.
Like we are very much creatures of our environment and our family and our personality. And I don't know if Jordan Peterson gets into that or not. I feel like I've heard him say something about that. But I actually, speaking of Jordan Peterson, I know that he has said on many occasions that he was invited to talk to all different kinds of people at various points, including a lot of Democrats and left-leaning politicians and leaders and all that kind of stuff. And he'd say, when does the left go too far?
And they wouldn't give him an answer.
And they never have an answer. And that is the downfall of the left, encapsulated in one little bullet point.
Mm-hmm.
Because if people don't think that the left went too far, you didn't learn the lesson and you're going to make the same mistake, and we're just in for a nice little cycle here. Mm-hmm. Okay. But on the right, if you got to that point where you were fed up and you went, okay, we gotta do something, right? Like, love him or hate him, Elon Musk, right? Totally apolitical, publicly professed to be basically center left, kind of going all in on Trump.
Yeah, that was
like that's got to be the most bizarre thing ever. Although people don't necessarily see it that way now, they know is him and Trump are buds, the first bud or whatever it is.
Well, I saw some of Robert Kennedy being grilled.
Oh yeah, well, he's another guy
today.
Politics makes strange bedfellows is an old expression, right? But the lesson for the right is, and not so much the right, but like people that voted Republican, people that became Republican. Elon Musk's and everybody else, like normal people,
Mm-hmm.
that said, you know what, this has gone too far. We have to change something, and Trump is that change agent. The lesson is, don't be the left who doesn't have a way to say when it's gone too far. Right? So if the right just goes unchecked by the right, because that's really the issue. When you don't have a check within your own group, it just lets the crazies run the show.
Right.
And I can speak from experience in churches that because churches tend to be full of nice people, gentle people, kind people, loving people, people that want to follow Jesus and be compassionate and all this other kind of stuff, churches become hostage to the people that just don't give a poop about being nice. Toxic personalities, narcissists, borderline personality. There's a list. There's a book. It's called Antagonists in the Church. It actually is like a handbook for, hey, by the way, evil people work their way into churches and into leadership, and every once in a while, you really have to take them out to the woodshed, sort of. Like that. That's not how he says it. He's a trained. I think he's got psychological background. Like the author Kenneth Houck, Antagonists in the Church. But there's like a very specific way to deal with them, and it's not, oh, you're so wonderful and loved by Jesus, and you want to talk for the next 6 hours, and we're just all going to sit here and let you do that and hold us hostage until it's midnight, and we want to go home and wake up for work the next morning. Okay.
But this is what other thing we were talking too about, how the church seems to be so feminine and not masculine, right?
Yeah.
And this is maybe the area where the masculine side needs to stand up in those situations in the church and say, no, that's it. We're not doing that today.
Yeah.
Kind of situation.
So that's, Jesus has this, somebody asked him about taxes, and he says, give to Caesar what's Caesar's and to God what's God's. And I don't think he was just talking about taxes.
No.
I think he was also kind of saying that the government has a role, no matter how evil the government is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was pretty evil. And it was unpopular for him to say that.
In fact, I've been listening to Peterson's panel podcast. Well, I don't know if it's a podcast, whatever is his, let's just say podcast because I can't think of another word, and he's got a panel of people, and they're going through they're going through the Gospels. It's called the Gospels, and it's on the Daily Wire. Not to give them any extra credit, but yeah, I mean they're putting it, hosting it or whatever, and you can get it there, and without commercials, or it's on YouTube. Lags a little bit, but anyway, all that to say, they were discussing, the one of the episodes was parables, and they were talking about the coin, right? And so here he's with a Jewish audience, right? And he asked them,
hold it up.
Hold it up, yeah. So, and it's Caesar on it, and he says,
he go ahead. I think I know where you're going.
The interesting thing about that, or one interesting thing about that, was it was a Jewish person, but they had a Roman coin, because the Jewish people had their own coin. They had their own money. So why did a Jewish person even have one of Caesar's coins in their pocket or wherever they kept their money? It's because government is necessary, and they had to participate in that government, But that's one way to look at it. I guess maybe you have other.
Well, but even more, doesn't he tell them to hold it up?
Yes.
And aren't they like in the temple? Maybe
I don't remember that for sure.
He got them to commit idolatry.
Oh my.
A graven image,
Right? That's true.
right?
Yeah.
So yes,
But I guess that what they were saying is that there is a place for government,
Yeah,
and then there's a place for thing. Because it's interesting that a Jewish person who he's talked to, probably in the synagogue or whatever temple, and he's asking them to show me a coin, and they pull out a Roman coin, and he goes, "Well, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. That's a Caesar's."
yeah.
Yeah. So there's more to it.
Well, and hypocrisy too,
Right.
because here they are trying to be all precise and trying to catch him in a trap. To either he says don't pay taxes, and then they rat him out to Caesar, or they say pay taxes, and they rat him out to the people who hate the taxes. Right.
All right.
Right. Everybody's hated taxes always, and it's
Right.
not just rich people. As long as everybody doesn't have to pay taxes, people love it, always and forever. It's just always that way. But this hypocrisy, right, that they're trying to get him into a trap for doing something wrong, and here they are. And yes, they probably have to participate in it, but at the same time, look at you idiots. You got a graven image, and you're in the temple courtyard here. You're like, what? Really? Shut up. Go home. Like that's... Jesus did have a sense of humor. Let's not go there yet.
He didn't laugh, though.
He laughed on the inside. No, but so this rendering unto Caesar and giving to God what's God's, there is a role for government. And the way Lutherans have always understood this is this idea of the two kingdoms or the two realms. And I think it does get abused sometimes. And I don't think it's as black and white as people want it to be. But the idea is, generally speaking, that God is in charge of everything. But he works in this world in two ways. And on the one hand, the left-hand realm, I believe, the way I've always thought of it is left, L, law, so like government, law and order. The left-hand realm is where you have government and you have really this overriding value of accountability, right? You have government to make laws and to enforce laws, because if you don't, things go off the rails. The right is grace, mercy, the R in there, right? Grace, mercy. I forget, there was another word or two or three that I used to use to kind of think about it as the R, right? That's the church, another R in there in the middle of the word, at least. And the church operates with what Jesus put out in the Sermon on the Mount. This is how we operate, with grace and mercy and forgiveness and love and charity and all this other kind of stuff. It's the prodigal son. We run out and right, in that prodigal son story, what's happening, right? The younger brother is a train wreck. The father welcomes him back like the church, right hand, right? Mm-hmm. But the brother is like, but wait a second, what about the left hand? Like, my inheritance is about to get cut by a third.
He's looking at all the laws.
He's
and
looking
the rules.
at all this kind of stuff, yeah, which
the worldly
are true. Like, that is all true. But as a person, as a citizen, he's in his father's kingdom, because his father is still the boss. His father is saying, no, it's more important to have the younger brother back. Now, the challenge, so it's much more about forgiveness and mercy and all that kind of stuff. Those are the overriding principles in the right. Now, the problem is you don't want a government that never has any kind of mercy.
Right.
You don't want a government that never has grace or forgiveness or whatever, which is what both political parties are turning into. Like, just absolutely merciless. Just eat their own, go after the enemies, all that kind of stuff. But again, that is that world. That is that realm. That's how it works. Unfortunately, I think it's become more overtly so, which we should be concerned about. But it's always been that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we know it now in a way we didn't necessarily know it before.
Oh, we can see it more. In the past, you would only see,
24-hour news cycle. You got everybody on a podcast. You got immediate access to the entire world if they want to tell their story. And the way to get attention is to be provocative and to generate anger and fear. And, so, and it's monetized, right? So all these things are monetized, and the way that they get the eyeballs is those ways, and the eyeballs generate dollars, and that's really what they want. All of them, so
Right.
whether it's liberal or conservative or whatever content, the more it outrages people, the better. Like there's this,
Which is really not what the government was supposed to be, right? It was supposed to be people, farmers, whatever type, whatever background you're in. You're supposed to come, do your time, do your thing, and then go back home and be the thing that you were. But no, they're not that. They want to be where they are forever.
Yeah.
As so we have so many octogenarians in there,
Mm-hmm. So we want the government. Mention that again. Remind me that you said that, because there's a lot we could unpack there. The left-hand realm, the law and order realm, the realm where accountability, where you work hard, you get rewarded, you don't, you get punished, you do the wrong thing, you have to pay the price for it, you do the right thing, and you get blessings and all that kind of stuff, which is in Scripture too. I mean, Scripture does speak like that. But then on the other hand, like, you don't want the church to only be like I just explained with that book, The Antagonist in the Church. I can't tell you how many times I have seen ministries just absolutely implode, or at least come to the verge of implosion, all because nobody could stand up and say the hard thing. They just let they're more interested in just not having to do anything hard than they are in saving this institution, or keeping it from going off the rails, or having a negative impact on the people that are part of it.
There again, the masculine side.
Yes. So the church has historically attracted a lot of women because it's always spoken well of women. I mean, I know that it's not always true, but historically speaking, the Bible is very positive about women. The reason we are at the moment we are in today with women, women's rights and whatnot, which I know some people are all, it's all over. And no, we're still in a pretty good spot. But the reason, I think, historically has a lot to do with Christianity. The first witnesses of Jesus' resurrection are women. A lot of people, and in the Roman Empire, a husband could sleep with whoever he wanted, even if he was married. But a wife could not. And then they started coming to the church because the church said, no, both of you are supposed to be monogamous. So this tough talk to men, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not just men, but also to men in that way. But you get a lot of women, and you get a lot of emphasis on the teachings of Jesus, which we should emphasize. We shouldn't not emphasize those things. But at the same time, Jesus is, while he's saying those hard things, those things about love, and we'll go, oh, he's actually smacking people upside the head. Every word of that sermon is like, the people aren't going, wow, this is just what I've been looking for. A savior.
Usually there was somebody in the back reaching down, trying to pick up a rock,
yeah,
to hurl it at him.
Exactly. This was not popular.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean they didn't do it or that we shouldn't do it. It just means I don't think it's as clean as we'd like it to believe.
Right.
Like to believe it is. And a church, think about this. We have a left-hand realm role as this organization with employees, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you allow an employee to just have unlimited forgiveness, you ain't going to have an organization for very long, right?
Right.
So, and this is what makes the church so hard as an institution. It makes it so hard to function because people want that, but they don't get it, you know. Well, they want it for themselves. We don't really want unlimited forgiveness in a group, right? Because it hurts somebody eventually. To allow somebody to have unlimited forgiveness. I think the biggest example is, you know, these days, abuse within the church. And this is not just one denomination. This is a problem across all denominations where we see pretty regularly. There's an email, Ministry Watch. I get, I don't know, they send out 1 or 2 a week or something like that. And there's always some leader, some church, camp, whatever, that has this scandal kind of being, revealed. You don't want unlimited forgiveness for that person in the sense that they don't get to just come back. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Oh, okay. Yes, we'll let you go and lead the Christian camp with children again. No, that's the problem, right? That's why we have these things that come out, because they just keep, that's what they did, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is no overriding principle where you just say, if I always do it this way, I'm doing it right. The Bible doesn't allow us to be that weak-minded.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible actually asks us to engage God, engage the Word, engage the Spirit, engage in prayer, and go, God, no matter what I do in this situation, I'm kind of screwed either way. And that is where you go, sin boldly, I'm forgiven in Christ. I'm going to do the closest thing to the right thing that I think I can do, recognizing both accountability and mercy, okay? But there are multiple sides, right? So when you have mercy on one person, that doesn't mean that you're only applying mercy in a given situation. Mercy on one person is a lack of mercy for another person. The world isn't that clean. It's just not. One day it will be, Lord willing, right? When Jesus returns, it'll be clean. It'll just be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But we ain't there yet.
The thing when you were talking about the government, I found interesting while watching the inauguration was how much it resembled a religious ceremony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even though, like you said, that was the left realm and there's rules and law. The whole ceremony of it was very, and no religion in government is a big thing people say, even though, that's really not what's in the Constitution. But, and there was probably some mercy there too, because there were people on that stage that probably really did not want to be there.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good point.
So, I mean, they had enough mercy to show up, or maybe, I don't know if it was mercy, it was just pride or whatever motivated them. There was something, but they were there.
There wasn't a whole lot of mercy in the talking.
Yeah, not in the inauguration speech. There wasn't.
The speeches, the prayers. I mean, whew. Although I did see from non-right-leaning people, I think, some acknowledgement that as much as it was sort of it wasn't quite like the first inauguration 8 years ago.
Yeah.
That was much more pointed.
Okay. I don't remember that one as much.
I didn't go back and look, but it was a reliable source, I thought, in the sense that it wasn't like a Republican saying that. It was somebody more either independent or left-leaning or something like that.
Well, he did actually come back after one of his other speeches along the road that he's always given a speech or something somewhere. He said, yeah, I kind of felt really bad. I'm standing up there and I'm giving them the business. But, this is why I'm here.
This is Trump saying that?
Yeah, this is why I'm here. This is why I got elected. So I'm giving you what I think. So,
yeah, well,
anyway.
But yeah.
So even he tried to have a little grace, as much as people
yeah, I'm sure.
People may or may not like him, but, yeah, I mean, he's a character for sure.
Very, very interesting. But again, the right-leaning people are the one, it's within the team, within the tribe.
Right.
That's where the most self-correcting happens. And when you don't have that, it just goes to the extremes.
Yeah.
And I think that's been happening over time, that we've just kind of been, and I think Christians have been all too willing to do whatever it takes, so to speak, for a particular thing. Like, hey, I just feel like this is the ultimate issue. Mm-hmm. And I would just say, okay, well, are you living up to the principles completely that you say you believe in? Because if you're not, and if you're not giving as hard a time to your team, you're going to be a fool. You will look like a fool at some point. Mm-hmm. You will be the hypocrite, and you're adding to the problem, right? I mean, this was, left and right. So back up for just a second. So we got the left and the right. There are certain things that the left-hand realm can only do. Mm-hmm. And there are certain things that the right-hand realm can only do. And when I preached the Sunday before Election Day, I gave one example, like when we think there is a place for law. Like, we need certain laws. We need good laws and not bad laws. We need just laws and not unjust laws. And we need just application of those laws, which I think is about just laws, right? So, like, if it's a law that's only being applied, then it's not a good law. It's got to be applied evenly to everybody, and if not, it's a bad law. So rewrite the law then. So we need those laws. And Martin Luther King Jr., right, we talked briefly about, he was all about that, right? But if you look at the racial justice movement from that point on, you get the laws, but then very quickly it becomes a political talking point, not a political platform for a political party. Mm-hmm. And I think that was probably one of the worst things that could have ever happened to that movement. I think generally Martin Luther King Jr. was apolitical. He got in a picture with a bunch of Democrats when they were the ones in power to write the laws that he'd been advocating for. Mm. But he didn't live much after that, and I don't know all the details of his political affiliations, but I do think that for a while he was kind of apolitical. And I don't think that I think it was good that those laws passed, but then I think eventually it ceased to be effective because the issues that we wrestle with, whether it's race or something else, are ultimately heart issues that can only be changed on a personal level. And that's give unto Caesar what is Caesar, get the laws done, and then follow the law. And to God what is God, your heart, which is not a very Lutheran thing. They hate, give your heart to God. Oh, your heart stinks, I told you, I'm actually pretty lovey-dovey for most Lutherans. But then you have this then the issue is no longer a political issue. The issue is, how do you change people's hearts? You can't apart from the gospel of Jesus Christ. And on a localized level and through relationships and all that. In the sermon before Election Day, I talked about the pro-life movement. Pro-life movement had tremendous support among almost every demographic, growing among most demographics, particularly among young people. We almost had an entire generation that was essentially going to be pro-life, like fully. I mean, not like 52%. Like it was big, big numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Pro-life young people. Then we get the Supreme Court. We get the overturning of Roe versus Wade. And we have more abortions today than we had before. So, should there be laws? Yes, there should be good laws. There should be tough laws. There should be accountability. But then the church has to do the church's job and evangelize people and live certain ways and show people the better way. Be salt and light. Be the city on a hill that infiltrates all of that. And by the way, that doesn't happen by posting things on social media, Facebook, Instagram, X.
Because you will be destroyed.
It's just that's not what changes hearts and minds. Which, by the way, shameless plug. Open Arms, Connecting People with Jesus, all about relationships. You can't get to people. You can't help them come to faith without a relationship. You know, that's what. Do you make life-altering decisions based on the opinion of somebody you just met?
I don't know, but we were reading in the book of Acts the last few weeks, and there were some situations that happened. So, you know what I mean? Yes and no.
It does happen. Yeah, there are people, like next week, there's going to be a ton of people in town for the Super Bowl. There's going to be a lot of human trafficking stuff, and human trafficking ministries are going to be trying to combat that. And there will be moments of conflict or confrontation. Maybe, I don't think they do that on purpose, but when you show up randomly, you don't know these people exactly. I think they are probably getting to know some of them, the local ones that keep going to some of the same locations. But there's sort of this confrontation with a person you don't really know, and all of a sudden you're hearing some sort of message, and then God, the Holy Spirit, can convict you. Yes, that stuff happens. But when you think about the people in your circle, the people you brush up against at carpool for the kids or on the golf course or whatever, like they're not going to just, hey, I was on the fifth green and this guy said, hey, I should believe in Jesus, and I thought, you know what, he's right. Like it's much more like,
well, you might have to like part the water trap so that the ball goes through or something for him to go, wow, how'd you do that?
Yeah. Or like stock tips or Bitcoin. You see people, they put comments on your post randomly like, oh, yeah, let me tell you about this wonderful person, this financial advisor. No, thanks. No. So it takes time for people's hearts to get changed. And I think Christians have been, we should be focused on our role as citizens in a nation that gives us the right to vote and to have a voice and all that kind of stuff. But I think we have to be careful.
Be more of a grassroots movement instead of a bottom up instead of top down type of a situation where we keep trying to vote in people at the top to make the change.
Yeah. I think we need more than two political parties that are functional. So like we have other parties, but they, and why?
I'm kind of thinking, I don't know, because Canada has that. And I was talking to somebody from another country, and they were saying, yeah, we have that there. We have multiple parties. We have a communist party, and then we have this other party, and the right-leaning party. And then sometimes the communists will join the right-leaning party because they don't like the other party, and just to get them out. You know what I mean? I don't know. It kind of made me think.
Yeah.
I thought it would for, yeah, that's a good idea, but
Well,
it's
but
like happening in Canada. It's the same way. There's a guy that's leading this third party, and he's not going against the incumbent person. Well, the incumbent person sat down, volunteered to retire recently or whatever, he get out of office, whatever it's called. And the reason he was because he was waiting to hit his retirement when he becomes vested in his retirement.
Yeah.
So he kept getting his party to vote for Trudeau's party because he was waiting to get vested. Now he's vested. So he can vote which way he wants now. And this is just something I've heard, listen to different podcasts about what's going on in Canada. And so I don't know, I'm not an expert on Canadian government.
That's what you were saying before about, what it used to be in America, right? It was like farmers and businessmen and whatever, and they spent their time and then they went back. And then so I see what you're saying. I still think that, I don't think it's better that there are only two parties and that those two parties basically wrote the rules for everything. And they created it. This was like first time around Trump very much. It was like, it's rigged, right?
Mm-hmm.
System's rigged. And then when you start thinking about the primary process and how we get the candidates that ultimately we choose from on Election Day, we don't get to vote for those. I mean, it's
not in this state. It's already decided by the time it gets here.
It's less than 10%, or it's like maybe even 5% of the people that actually vote to sort through who the candidate is.
Right.
And then everybody else votes, and of course that's not usually high. It's certainly not high enough. I mean, there are a lot of people in this country, and I don't know what the voter turnout numbers are.
300-something million people and 325 million or something was I think somewhere around there. And then, how many people vote?
Mm-hmm.
80 million or something on one side, I think, at one point, and almost that on the other. So that's half maybe.
But the real transformational things, I think, happen when we, the people, or particularly we Christians, do stuff. The government tends to respond to the culture.
Right.
It does, as much as it doesn't seem like that. They try to do it the other way around. But when there's an outpouring, and I mean, that's the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement forced the hand of government by just being such a formidable force.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, so yes, be politically active, but I think being politically active might mean being organized in a way like that on key issues. Right. For example, term limits. You think any of these people are ever going to do that themselves?
No.
Oh, vote for me because I want term limits. I mean, we'll see, because that was actually part of the first Trump term. He had it in his contract with America type thing, whatever it was called, I forget.
Right.
Term limits. Didn't get there. Well, he's got a new term. Is he going to do it? I don't know. But I do think we need them across the board. Although now they're talking about like, oh, let's get Trump a third term. That is the stuff that freaks people out.
Yes, definitely.
As they should be.
Yeah.
Right?
I heard that heard him say something about that the other day.
I was like,
oh, wait a minute. This is not, you're not even in 100 days and people are telling you should be in a third term. No, we're not doing that.
I don't think that would ever fly. I think that's more like that's the virtue signaling of the left.
Yeah.
The right does it too. And that's one of those things.
Yeah.
Just like DeSantis. What did DeSantis do? He issued an order for the flags to be flown at full staff on Inauguration Day because Jimmy Carter died.
Right.
All flags are at half staff for, I forget the length of time, but it's a long period of time when a president dies. They have them at half staff for national mourning for a month or something. But it was going to coincide with the election day, Inauguration Day. So he said, nope, they're going to be a full staff that day because we are proud to be Americans and our new president and blah, 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 blah. That's a virtue signaling thing.
It
right?
is, but I mean, I can kind of agree with that
I-
for a 1 day thing.
I could see it
even
too.
no matter who was in office, whoever was being inaugurated.
Yeah, I don't know if there was precedent for that or anything, but
Yeah, I could see
um,
that go up, and then
but it is also a
yeah,
virtue signaling thing.
It is.
It's not just maybe the right thing to do,
Right.
which you could make the case that it's the wrong thing to do also.
Right.
Jimmy Carter was a Democrat, so a lot of mixed feelings, I'm sure, among a Republican majority state, voted Republican multiple times now. A lot of people moving there from places like California for the similar weather, a lot more humidity, but the warmth, generally speaking. So it's a lot messier than we think. And render unto Caesar what is Caesar, grant them the power and the authority they deserve, even when you hate it, like especially when you hate it. That's the thing. I saw this guy, he had a post today, he's ranting about, he's gone all full bore left leaning, like he's fully partisan at this point, from what I can tell. He I'm sure does not believe that, but he is. And he had this thing about, people quoting Romans 13 and how in 1933, they said Romans 13. Romans 13 can absolutely be abused by the government to convince Christians to obey when they shouldn't. I totally get that. But then he went into this thing about Romans 12, and it has to be read in that context, which I'm all about context, which is where it says, love your enemies, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But Romans 13, and when, render unto Caesar what is Caesar in the Gospels, these things are being shared with the Christian community precisely when they would have disliked it the most. So it was at a time, Jesus is saying this about 30 AD, right? But the Gospels aren't written for a few years, and so it's being said around a time when there's probably at least the beginnings of some pretty fierce persecution. Like the fire of Rome is 64. Paul's letters are often considered the earliest documents, and they're in the 40s and 50s. Gospels start 50s, 60s. This is being told to the Christian community as Caesar is commanding them to be burned and thrown to lions, and Nero is said to have used Christians as basically like lighting for his parties on his balcony, like on the roof type. Tie him to wood and light him on fire.
Quite disgusting.
He was pretty disgusting. From what we have, some of what we have in history. So, and Paul, he's in prison on more than one occasion and is eventually killed for his faith. And he says, not render unto Caesar, but obey the government. Not in certain areas, but there is still that. It's that weird, like, how do you do this? It's not Tim Keller had this series of sermons on on Proverbs, right? And what he would say about Proverbs each time was, we're going through Proverbs, and this is about wisdom. And what is wisdom? Well, wisdom is knowing the right thing to do when the moral rules don't apply. And that line, and hearing it as often as I did through that sermon series, I was like, that's unbelievable. That's absolutely, because the 10 Commandments don't actually give you any help for navigating 99% of your life. Don't kill people. Don't commit adultery. Don't steal. Don't lie. Worship God. Don't say the Lord's name in vain, have a Sabbath. But that's like, that's like the bones, like the frame of a house.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you do about the electric and the water and the walls and the layout and the tile in the bathroom and like, what do you do with that? Right? So, I mean, you can't do much with just a frame. Right? There's
a little freedom there, I guess.
Well, freedom, but there are better ways to do it, are there not?
Definitely.
And even when you go into the Proverbs, there's like on one, maybe we should go through
But in
Proverbs.
Louisiana, you can have your water coming in from the outside.
Such stupid.
Whereas up north, you don't.
Stupid.
But which way is better? Well, down here, it works fine most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah. But that's the time when you want it to, like, that's the most important time, right? Those extreme cases.
So I asked someone, since that question got brought up, I asked someone, I said, so I'm being told that we're kind of dumb down here because, or whatever you want to say, but I kind of probably said, yeah, we're being dumb down here because the way we bring our water into our houses, because it comes in from the outside and we got to wrap it up, but when it gets cold, otherwise it's going to freeze and blah, blah, blah. I said, but up north, they do it better. So not being from up north, how do they do it? And so I says, it comes in through the basement.
Yeah, no.
Or the cellar. It's like, well, that's a problem for down here.
Yeah.
So there's your answer.
Well, that I had assumed that was part of the answer, at least. I still think there's a way. I still think there's a way to come, because it's the basement, yes, but it's still the ground. Like, either way, it's the ground.
Yeah, I guess you could have like
so
a
you
little
just have
room somewhere, and it would come up
little thing up
through
off the floor, just like you do in the shower, right? I don't know if I'm assuming we have the exact same model house except flipped, right? So the bathroom, the wall in the master bedroom has a little panel that comes out for you to reach the tub.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Do something like that in the floor somewhere. You know what I'm saying? If you need a valve somewhere, come on, people. And the ground is what keeps it warm. That's what keeps it from freezing. Mm-hmm. And you're already coming in from the ground anyway. Like, it's in the ground at the front of the house. Like, that's my water, right? You got one too. Yep. It's already in the ground. Why take it up 2 feet too soon?
It wasn't in the commandments of house building.
Exactly. So, well, it's probably cheaper too. But when you go through the Proverbs, like, you read Proverbs, here's one that says, never answer a fool. And then the very next one says, don't ever not answer a fool. So it's like, we didn't know what we were going to talk about. Otherwise, I could have looked for these things. And there's always a little something different that's kind of saying, like, sometimes a fool is just a fool and you just have to walk away. And then at the same time, sometimes you need to shut a fool up because he's a fool, and don't let him spread stupidity, right? Like, there's a moment, there's a time for everything, Ecclesiastes, right?
Right.
So,
well, Mark Twain said, don't ever argue with a fool because people watching might
can't
not
know the
able to
difference. That's good. There you go.
Yeah.
So maybe we should go through Proverbs. I don't know. Find some wisdom.
Yeah.
It's crazy times. Crazy times.
And speaking of, we talked, I guess, I don't know, was we on here where we talked about change, but we don't handle change very well.
No.
We liked a book that has rules that at least gives us a foundation to try to navigate, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and yeah,
but I think that's the problem I was thinking earlier when you're talking about the left has no boundaries. The problem I see in that is because the right is the side of order. The left is a side of chaos. When do you tell when you've had too much chaos? Well, it's when you have chaos, right?
Yeah.
You need to have a little bit because that's where creativity happens, right?
Yeah.
But if you get too right, then you stymie creativity because it's so stringent to the rules. No, you can't color outside the lines. That's not how we do it here.
Yeah.
And this guy's like, yeah, but if you do, it's going to look really nice, you know,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So, yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I think maybe it's just harder to define. And I think we kind of know it when you see it. Like maybe define the right a little easier when it becomes dictatorial.
Well, but I do think that
it may there. Not be You're as there.
Easy. It may not be as easy to tell because shame on the left for being so darn, I don't know.
They were going along with it. They didn't.
So disgustingly partisan, anything to stop Trump, making crap up so that millions of people that ever spent 5 minutes researching what you just said about Donald Trump, you know, as far as like the Liz Cheney thing, that was ridiculous, or the Puerto Rico garbage comment at the event in Madison Square Garden. I mean, you know, you spend 30 seconds looking that up and you go, oh, Puerto Rico has a garbage problem. He wasn't talking about the people. He's talking about the fact that there's actually garbage like exploding on the island.
Right.
And then you go back even further. Oh, bleach. Yeah, he wants us to drink bleach. No, you stupid idiots.
I actually saw that press conference, and afterwards I heard that, and I was like, that's not what he said.
That is not what he said, yeah. And you have there was a media apparatus supporting everything that was going on, you know, and
which is kind of ironic, right? So here you are on the left, but you have a group of structure, which is almost more structural than what's on the right. You know what I'm saying? It's like, isn't that how do you do that?
Yeah. Well, but
because I admire them, because in Congress, the leader, which had been Nancy Pelosi for quite a while, look, she spoke. We're voting this way or that way.
Yeah. And
you don't get out of line, or we're throwing you like raw meat to the dogs kind of thing. And
a lot of it is projection. They projected, and I'm not saying that Trump doesn't actually embody some of this, but, you know, they're projecting what they're doing. You know, I mean, COVID, like that, almost everything they said and did was wrong.
Yeah.
And then you find out about some of these connections, like, so the vaccine, there's rules for basically fast tracking a vaccine. And the rules are like, as long as there's no other, there's a therapeutic treatment.
But we had that.
But we did. And so they shouted down ivermectin and all these other things. And like, what?
They had with the monoclonal antibodies or something like that you could take for a while there.
But so the point is like, when you make an exception for the sake of whatever, and you sacrifice your integrity, you actually end up creating the very problem you think you're trying to stop.
Right.
Because now no one on the right will ever believe anything that comes from the other side, ever. And now that they're in the minority, they are going to have a better view of what's wrong. Because we have a hard time, like, it's like, oh, you got something in your teeth. Like, you can't see what's in your teeth. Somebody else has to tell you. And that's what's going to happen.
Right.
And if we're not willing to hear that, for whatever the issue is, that may have nothing to do with politics. It's just whatever team you're on, whatever side you're on. You know, you got to be willing to have that outside voice. Which the left was not willing to do for so long, right? I mean, and now here we are, and we, you know, law and order, but holy cow, there's an awful lot of chaos. Like these 100 days, oh my goodness, people are losing their minds, and perhaps rightly so in many respects. So
there will definitely be mistakes made rushing things through as fast as he's rushing them through.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess you're hoping it's like, I guess it's the shotgun approach that you shoot enough pellets and you're going to hit a target.
Yeah.
And there may be some strays, but you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. It's yeah. Well, hang on. It's going to be a roller coaster ride for a little while.
Well,
for
and
sure.
Again, what's the most important thing? I mean, yes, telling people about Jesus was kind of where we went with it before, but you know, God, the one that is over all, right? Like our appeal ultimately has to be to the one who is over all.
Right.
You know, the Bible is full of times when God shuts up a king,
Right.
when God takes a leader to task, you know. And actually, we're talking about Proverbs. There is a proverb, I believe it's Proverbs 12, maybe it's 21, and I'm flipping the numbers. But it says something like, you know, like water in the hand is the heart of a king in the hands of the Lord, something like that. Like God directs the heart of a king like your hand can direct water, you know, like a stream of water. Like you put your hand under the water and you in the shower, you kind of like direct the water around or whatever while you're doing whatever. And God has the power. And our number one thing should always be an appeal to heaven. That's the flag, right? An appeal to heaven from Revolution, right? An appeal to heaven. That's where it starts. That doesn't mean that there isn't stuff on the ground, boots on the ground, grassroots stuff that needs to be done. But it starts there. And it starts with a patience and like waiting for God to give the clear signal on what to do and not getting caught up in the partisan stuff too much. And, you know,
we can't let that stuff divide us.
Because that's really the biggest division within the church right now. There is, on the one hand, 96, 97%. I don't know if it's true for this election. These were statistics back in 2020 after George Floyd, and there's a lot of talk about race and things, and the statistics at that time were 96, 97% of white evangelicals vote one way. 96, 97% of black evangelicals vote another way. That's a problem.
Right.
And I think actually we're seeing more and more the number of white evangelicals is dropping in general, but also not they're going left. There has been a growth of left-leaning evangelicalism. But whether it's white and black or just Christian and Christian, that's not good. I mean, there's a 1 Corinthians 1. You know, how can you say, I follow Paul, I follow Apollos, you know? No, there's only one, right? We follow Jesus, we follow Christ, we're in this together. We're not caught up in these divisive things over, I don't know, it's messy.
Yeah.
It's messy. So tell people about Jesus. Focus on the main thing.
There may be more people willing to listen lately from all the things I'm seeing that I watch. There are people turning to Jesus that, you know, may not have even considered it before. So I don't know if it's quite reached Louisiana yet, but maybe we're not doing the right things yet. Like he said, the harvest is plenty, but the workers are few. So I don't know.
He also has food to eat that we know nothing about. Same chapter.
Where's Elijah when you need him? Not that Elijah, but
he actually quoted that passage relatively recently, like within the last couple of weeks. I forget why or when, but it was just so random. I was like, what? He actually pulls out Bible stories and Bible passages randomly. Like he just makes these. I'm like, oh my God, you were paying attention.
No, you wouldn't know. Huh? After 2 years plus of class.
Yep.
They listen more than what you realize.
Yep. So, well, we could talk more, but it's probably time to send you home. Right?
That would be good. My dog might want to walk.
Oh, yeah. Eli. I don't know what we do next. Well, I did.
Although, did you hear last night? This might not be neat for the podcast, but there was sound like some kind of military training off in the swamp toward Mississippi. Sound like I heard guns going off, and it wasn't just regular firework. You know, it might have been blanks or being shot, but
I don't know.
it sounded like some type of thing was over there towards Stennis.
What time? About
early evening. I don't know exact time on the clock it was, but that's the reason I thought of that is because Eli does not like fireworks or any gun sounds, and if he hears that, he's right back to the house. So I went to get him to walk, and he just rolls over on his belly and he does one of these, and like, I'll just take a belly rub tonight.
You expecting fireworks tonight?
I don't know. I didn't expect that the other night. So
okay.
yeah, the whatever was going on over there. Yeah.
Well, it's not early evening anymore. It's kind of well into the evening, so
it should be over with by now.
But maybe we figure out where to go next. Talked about biblical archaeology at some point. I actually had something in case we were going to go there. I asked some of these AI things.
Okay.
I said, what are the top 10 most interesting facts of biblical archaeology? So I got a bunch, 10, and then I asked for more detailed explanations, and I did this from multiple things. Oh, also, what are the top 10 most common hoaxes, myths, or misconceptions of the Bible and how they have been debunked? Right, so kind of along the lines of that Wes Huff guy.
Mm-hmm. I did see another one we were talking earlier, and there was another documentary on there where they think they found where Sodom and Gomorrah was. They found, they know the approximate location, but when they went to this area, there is actually sulfur.
Yeah. Like massive amount of it.
Yeah, and it's like burned on the outside, but not on the inside, or something to that effect. There's something, chemically or whatever that they can tell by that was actually, like he says, it fire and brimstone or sulfur or whatever was rained down on those cities, whatever. So,
yeah,
thought that was interesting. But
yeah, well,
a lot of interesting stories. I just don't know a lot of the facts about them.
The reason why I like some of these questions and stuff like that is because I think it would help. This is sweet Jesus, right? Taste and see the Lord is good. Ice cream is sweet. Jesus is sweeter. Which, by the way, I did have ice cream. Haagen-Dazs bar. You want one? Did I offer you one? You said you had a sandwich. That wasn't really answering the question.
Well, I did want one right after that, but maybe I'll take one on the way home.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
But
probably wasn't ready earlier either. So
this whole thing kind of started back in Ohio before I came down here with just me sitting in front of the laptop live on YouTube and going through a book about, it was Tim Keller's The Reason for God, and it was going through some of these like objections to help people who want to share their faith, but also as, hey, maybe you have this question yourself, and I'm going to try and debunk it. Basically, I'm going to try and chip away at that so you have one less objection to being a Christian. So I think those kinds of things are important. 12 rules for life is good, 'cause order, right? And he starts out that book about we have this generation of people that are just like so too much chaos, no rules, no order. They want some sort of stability and some boundaries, and so this was a way to do that. But you can take that too far too, right? And he even goes into the whole thing about the yin and the yang, right?
I think his next book is probably the
Beyond Order.
Excuse me.
And actually, I do have the new one. I got it as a gift, I think, at Christmas, We Who Wrestle with God.
Oh, okay.
So I do have that one. I haven't cracked it open yet. But, yeah. All right. Time to go.
Yep.
Well, y'all hang in there. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. You can buy the book here. Maybe we'll go through this at some point. And oh yeah, by the way, there's another copy up there, and then there's the 2 kids books here. I would love to do what I do for free and be able to take open arms to a new generosity level, giving away all kinds of stuff. And so anyway, great to be with you. Don't forget to taste and see that the Lord is good. Ice cream is sweet, but Jesus is sweeter. I hope you've already gotten yourself some ice cream. Scott's getting his now.
Yep.
Later.